You're live. You can
Yeah.
begin.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of North Texas. And I would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chris, would you lead us in that, please?
Read it.
What?
The pledge. Pledge.
Okay, well, they can't see or hear me.
Yeah.
I
I pledge
pledge
allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
to the
flag
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 of
of
the
the
of the
United
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 States of
States
States
of
America
of
America
America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for
for
which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
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 God,
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 indivisible,
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 with
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 liberty
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 and
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 justice
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 for
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 all.
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 Thank you very much for that. Miss Linda, can you lead us in our invocation?
Okay, have you got the screen on full? It seems like we can't get our screen down that everything shows up.
Understood, understood.
See if you
I
Okay.
can.
can do it, Chris.
All righty. Thank you, Miss Juliet.
Sure. As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world.
Thank you very much for that. Who we are. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So, before we start here, let me stop screen share for a moment and let me pull up the video that we'll be watching. Quick, let's see. Bring this back up. We're going to do the video. Shit.
One of the incredible things about Rotary is knowing that there are people across the world who you can connect.
Oh no. Sorry about that, y'all. Well, we're gonna go to the next. Sorry about that. I thought I was gonna play all the way through, but it did not.
For me, that's
Technical difficulties on this end, and I had it ready as well. So let me go back to it. Zoom share. Slideshow. Play from current slide. All right. So we have to skip that video. But what can you do to support the Rotary thing? We're still doing membership and new club development. Do anybody have any ideas on how we can improve membership in our club?
Okay, David is still, we're still trying to find a senior living where we can do a satellite club. So if you know of any place in this area that you think might,
We maybe saw one today.
so we may have seen one today. I got the telephone number of the place. It's here in Irving. So we're going to be contacting them in the next week.
All right. Have you found any leads or have anyone thought about bringing people to our next meeting?
Well, I talked to Jack Wednesday, and he says he has two people I think he's going to be bringing to the picnic.
All right, all right, all right. Anybody else have any input? All right, good. We're going to the next one. Old business. So our last meeting we had our district governor, which came through and gave her introduction again and what were her goals for the year. She did a great presentation on her stuff. Was there any other announcements y'all would like to bring up?
Bring up about the picnic.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, September the 28th, we will have our picnic in the park from 11 to 1. And if you want to arrive a little bit before 11, that's fine. It'll probably go after 1. But it'll be at the same place, Northwest Park, here in Irving. They're on Cheyenne. And announcements will be sent out, reminders. And if you could, I think Jerica said she would be taking the reservation. And so just call her, or you can call me either, and let us know if you're coming. Bring something that, for 6 to 8 people. Last time we had almost 30 people there, but anyway, we had a lot of food. I think David's going to make, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be making the hot dogs and made the chili and we'll have some boiled shrimp.
Mm,
And Jack will bring his rice.
So
And oh, David said they're pork sausage dogs,
they're good.
and everybody seemed to enjoy them. So we'll have lemonade to drink and whatever anybody else brings. So that's all that I know right now.
All right, so on the 4th of next month, we have our district awards. We actually got an award, so I'll be posting that next meeting, the award we get. On top of that, we have roundtable, which been changed to Rotary Leadership. This is the same thing, but they changed the terminology for it. But all is welcome. I know a few of us been to the online or in person, and it goes on once a month on a Saturday. So if you are available, it's going to be on the 14th, I believe, the second
It's usually the
Saturday.
second Saturday.
Yeah, if not the second Saturday, it's the third one.
Oh,
Because
it's gonna be the third one. Okay,
let me double check.
they changed it.
Yeah, no, it's the second Saturday, so it should be the 13th. If not, it's the 20th. All right, let's go to our next one. So, Mr. Howard, would you like to introduce our guest?
Sure. Let me pull up her. Our guest is an expert on the chemistry of mammalian behavior. I think that would be a good description. She works with the Inner Mammal Institute, and she's written 8 books, and she's gonna tell us about how these chemicals affect our behavior and patterns in the world. Oh, and if you could mute your mics while she's talking, and that she asks a question so we don't get background noises from dogs and things like that.
All right. So you can go ahead and share your screen. Let me stop sharing.
He said mute everybody.
What?
Mute.
And you can you can use your PowerPoint if you want, Loretta. Just
Thank you.
to
Well,
share
I'll
at the
just speak human to human for a little while. Okay. So I know PowerPoint can put us to sleep. But my PowerPoint is full of cute animal pictures. So I'm really going to talk about the animal perspective on the chemicals that cause good feelings and bad feelings. So it's not academic at all. And it's not anything depressing about disorders or anything, because I really don't enjoy that perspective. So the idea is that when we feel good, a good chemical is being released, and we've inherited that chemical from earlier animals. When we feel bad, a bad chemical is causing that, and animals have those same chemicals. I was amazed when I learned this, because in animals, we know exactly how the animal reacts to that chemical. We know we know what the job of that chemical is, because animals can't spin it and say, well, that's not what I was really thinking. They just act on the chemical. And that's how we know that these chemicals have very important, valuable survival functions. So we can learn to see our emotional ups and downs as chemicals that have valuable, important survival functions. And that helps us be, I think, much more at peace with our ups and downs. And that's why I started studying that. And that's how I sort of found peace with my own ups and downs. And I think everyone else can do that. And I should mention, I was a college professor for 25 years, and I taught international management, which seems like is a very different subject that would not have anything to do with this. And so the link is, you could say that I got to travel around the world and work with different countries and different cultures. And I always had this ideal that some other place everybody is happy, right? We all get indoctrinated in that way. We see the flaws of our own little niche of the world, and we think that everybody is happy in some other place. But after I got around a lot and raised kids and had thousands of students, I saw that basically everybody has the same problems. So that's why I got so interested in the animal origins. And even when people talk about chimpanzees, then I went from chimpanzees to monkeys and monkeys to, dogs and cows and pigs. And it's like all mammals have the same basic responses, survival responses. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And now I will share my screen and then I will click play and go back. Ooh, okay. How did that happen? Okay. So I have a lot of different presentations on my website, but we're going to talk about leadership and the brain because leadership is often the focus of these kind of social clubs. So you see my website here at the bottom, innermammalinstitute.org. So you can find lots of free resources, including this presentation. Don't go there now. I'll give you the information again at the end. So, and these are the chemicals I'm going to talk about. Dopamine, endorphin, oxytocin, and serotonin. So you've probably heard these words a lot from past different news coverage. And I wrote the first book about them 15 years ago. So I think I hopefully get part of the credit for this focus. But so much of the information in the public realm, I deeply disagree with because it has this false idea that we should be happy all the time, that healthy people are effortlessly happy all the time. And if you're not effortlessly happy all the time, you have some disorder, and then some expert can fix you. Otherwise, you should blame society, and society needs to be fixed. And once you take the animal perspective, you'll see that this is not true at all, that these happy chemicals are not designed to be on all the time. They're designed to be released only in short spurts. Nobody has them all the time. Nobody gets them easily. We have very frustrating trade-offs. If you get more of one, you get less of another. And so the best we could do is manage these chemicals. And to do that, we have to really understand them. So that's my focus. So managing your brain is the skill beneath all other skills. And in this picture, you see that I'm holding an actual brain, which I had the opportunity to do at a conference where we all got to wait online and put on gloves and hold a real brain. And the interesting thing about it is that it's very heavy. So you're all working hard to hold up your head. So it's hard to manage your emotions because we actually have two different brains that have two sort of different modes of activity. And before I go on to that, you may be wondering about this picture here. I just want to tell you it's 400 years old, and it comes from 400 years ago. There were actually doctors being trained, and people did dissections and sketches to help train those doctors. And there's a museum in London that collects the history of medicine, and they have this picture. So I thought that was so cool. So our two brains are the verbal cortex and the limbic system inherited from earlier mammals. So we are not going to talk at all about all of the bits and parts of the brain. You often hear people talk about that, but what matters is how they work together. So the cortex is what I call the pink fluffy brain that you see in pictures. So that's what we have in the outside, this pink brain that does all the talking. So when you're talking to yourself, you're using the verbal part of your brain, the cortex that's unique to humans that animals do not have. But underneath that, you have a limbic system, which is inherited from earlier mammals, which has these bits and parts here that you've probably heard people talk about, like the amygdala and hypothalamus. And the bottom line is that they work together, they control your emotions. They control the chemicals that make you feel good and bad. But your talking brain does not control your limbic system. So all animals have this earlier limbic brain, but animals can't talk. So we have these two separate brain systems. One controls the words and one controls the chemicals, and they're not on speaking terms. So that's what makes life so hard. Your mammal brain cannot process language. It responds to the world with chemicals. So when you see something that's good for you, a happy chemical is released. When you see something bad for you, a threat chemical is released. And our brain goes through life every minute of every day responding to the world with happy chemicals and threat chemicals. And this is how it works for animals too, with the same core brain structures. And then we have this whole extra system added on top of that. And that, again, is what makes life interesting. So, our mammal brain releases happy chemicals when it sees something good for you. And these are the happy chemicals we're going to talk about. They create different good feelings that reward you for meeting different survival needs. And we want all of them. So, we want to do something that sparks our dopamine, but we also want oxytocin and serotonin. So we go through every minute of every day, sort of like, what can I do to spark these good feelings? But we're not consciously aware of it. So that's why I think it's so important that everyone learn this. And thank you for helping me. And I hope you do help to spread the word about this important information. So, our mammal brain releases unhappy chemicals when it sees something bad for you. And the famous unhappy chemical is cortisol. So, you probably hear people talk about cortisol. It's known as the stress chemical. And again, in the media and in the academic world, there's a lot of different views and different ideas about these chemicals that you may have heard. And I'm happy to address any of that in the questions. But first, you'll hear my very simple explanations. Your mammal brain can't tell you in words why it's releasing chemicals, and your verbal brain doesn't control the chemicals. So, how can you find your power to lead yourself and others? And to lead yourself doesn't mean you should avoid emotions. You know, a lot of people have the theory, oh, don't give in to your emotions. No, we need to, we spark our motivation by sparking our happy chemicals. We need them. However, of course, you could think examples of people sparking them in unhealthy ways. The same with threat chemicals. We need to relieve threat chemicals, otherwise, we feel bad all the time. We don't want to relieve them in unhealthy ways. We don't want to spark our stress chemicals in unhealthy ways. So we need to understand the wiring that each brain, each of us has built our own wiring that controls these chemicals. And we have a little bit of power over that wiring. And that's our focus, is to talk about that power. So, your happy chemicals evolved to promote survival, not to make you happy. Your chemicals are wired from past experience, but new wiring can be built from repetition. And mirror neurons fire when we see others experience rewards and threats. So, we're going to talk more about all of this. But the bottom line, again, I keep saying, is life is complicated. It's not like there's this simple default state that we were all meant to be happy all the time and then something went wrong. But happy chemicals evolved to promote survival. That means our ancestors had to look for food all the time. They were not happy all the time. They were happy when they found food. Then the food was soon used up. They had to look for more food. They were only happy when they found it. So that's a short summary. Now, today, if you are only happy by looking for food, that's not going to be really good for you. So each brain is wired from its own early experience. So when we're young, we're not like hunter-gatherer children that learn to go through the forest and look for food. So we take this ancient brain we've inherited, and our parents try to wire it with different survival skills, just like hunter gatherer parents try to teach their kids how to find food, and maybe our great grandparents taught their kids how to find and preserve food. So our parents wanted to teach us survival skills, and we want to teach our kids survival skills. And how do they learn that? Well, there's this thing called mirror neurons that we all have, and especially in children, when they see another person feel happy or unhappy, their mirror neurons turn on. So when you see someone else get a reward or someone else suffer a threat, your chemicals turn on, and that's how you learn. So that's how a monkey learns to find food the way another monkey finds it, and to avoid getting hurt in the way another, when it sees another monkey get hurt, it says, I'm not going to do that. So that's a short introduction. So we're going to now, let's see, your chemicals evolved to reward survival action, not to flow all the time for no reason. When you know how your chemicals work in animals, our impulses make sense. So let's start with dopamine is the expectation of a reward. A reward is anything that meets an unmet need. So if this monkey wakes up hungry, it has to find food. When it finds food, its dopamine turns on, and that motivates the monkey to get up and move toward that food. And excuse me, each step closer to the food triggers more dopamine. Now, in today's world, if you don't have to work hard to climb toward food and then find another tree to find more food, so we don't get a lot of dopamine looking for food. So we get dopamine in other ways. So a simple example would be if I have a project to do and I think I'm going to get a promotion or a reward when I complete that project. So each step toward completing the project sparks my dopamine because I'm anticipating a reward at the end. So in the modern world, it has become fashionable to say that we're not motivated by rewards, and teachers are trained to say that we're not supposed to use extrinsic rewards. But the bottom line is that you are motivated by rewards, whether or not you think you should be. And so that's why people do things to get rewards. But we all define rewards in ways that were wired by our early experience, which unfortunately is that if somebody got wired to think that if they buy a bottle of vodka for their friends, then everyone will like them, then that early experience wired you to say, hey, the way to feel good is to buy a bottle of vodka for your friends, for example. So dopamine releases energy when you approach a reward. Each step closer to a goal stimulates more dopamine. So if you ever watch nature videos and you see that the lion misses most of the time, the lion goes hungry, it runs after stuff and it misses. But dopamine is what excites you when you see a target that you think you can reach. So if you are looking for a new job, let's say, and you go to a job board and there's lots and lots of jobs, but you know you're not going to get most of them and you're going to be wasting your energy just like this lion. And so you look around for a target you think you can get. And that's what stimulates your dopamine. And then you invest your energy into that particular job application. And dopamine is what gives you that good feeling like, oh, I have a good feeling while I'm filling out that job application. And you say, I have a good feeling about this job. And often we're disappointed and we don't get the job we applied for, just like this lion often misses. If you watch nature videos, you see that they often miss for a whole week and go hungry. And that's why we've inherited a brain that evolved to live through failure and disappointment and keep trying. And dopamine rewards you when you try again. Think about what you do to trigger dopamine in your life. It keeps you focused on the unmet need. So, this is interesting. So, when our ancestors found a tree full of ripe fruit, they were very happy for a few minutes. But after a few minutes, they fill their belly on food. And now I'm sorry, they fill their belly on fruit. So now they didn't want more fruit. And so the fruit stopped sparking their dopamine. And so they went to find meat or water, and that sparked more dopamine. So we are always running after something new because as soon as a need is met, it doesn't excite you anymore. And that's why you look for another need to meet. Let's talk about oxytocin. Oxytocin is the pleasure of social trust. Our brain makes careful decisions about when to trust. So, Howard was talking about tribal behavior, and this is oxytocin. So, oxytocin tells me that I can trust these guys to hunt with me. Both I can trust them to be helpful and be good hunters rather than being idiots who just maybe make noise and scare the prey away. And I can trust them to share the food with me when they get it. So anything you do with a group, you only do it because you trust that they are going to help you meet your survival needs. So it's your survival needs that make the ultimate decision of what sparks your oxytocin. Oxytocin is released when it's safe to lower your guard. When you're separated from the herd, your oxytocin falls. So animals are always making this decision. They want to be with the herd when they smell a predator. And they even run to the middle of the herd and push their way in because it's safer in the middle of the herd. So when you're always with the herd, it's not really good for you. Animals end up getting into food fights when they're always in the middle of a herd, and they end up eating grass that has been soiled by the excrement of other animals, let me say, when they're too close to the herd. So the animal impulse is to spread out. But what happens when you spread out? If you're isolated, you're the first one that gets picked off by a predator. In addition, when you're too isolated, you can't look down at the grass because you're so busy looking out for predators that you can't lower your guard. So the animal brain in you, it always is looking for other people to protect you so you can lower your guard. And then it's like, oh, now I can relax because other people are covering for me. So I was a college professor for 25 years, and I have to say that you can imagine students studying in groups. That would be another kind of example of herd behavior where you maybe feel more relaxed because you're in a group, but sometimes possibly too relaxed because maybe you leave all the work to your group mates and don't really learn. And maybe you don't learn and get a bad grade. I have to say, a lot of students took shortcuts and they relied too much on the herd. Let us just leave it at that for now. um, so think about what you do to trigger oxytocin in your life. It rewards you when you stick with the herd because that has value. But it doesn't mean you should stick with the herd every minute of every day. It means there are moments when you need the protection of others, and then you look for it, and then you enjoy oxytocin when you find it. So I'll give you a few examples. One of the most famous examples is teenagers that are always wanting to follow the crowd. And the similarity with animals is so similar because in the animal world, the herd is always moving. So while you're looking down at the grass and filling your belly, the herd may move on and you're suddenly isolated. So teenagers are always worried that the herd has moved on and gone to the mall without them and, always following along. Where is everybody? What is everybody doing? Not wanting to be left behind. And that's the animal brain doing that. And bottom line of so another famous example in adult life, there's a cliche of the the going to the bar where everyone knows your name. And you walk into this bar and everyone says, "Hi, Norm." and everyone gives that like a warm and fuzzy appearance. But in reality, you have to spend every night drinking in order to have that warm and fuzzy feeling. So that's why there's a benefit to oxytocin, but also a cost. And that's why we need to really understand it. So another example, again, is when people censor their own beliefs because they're afraid that the herd will attack them if they say what they really think, which has happened at every period in human history. So now we see it played out easily on our screens, but all through human history, it has played out in all different unfortunate ways, which included a lot of people getting their heads cut off about 500 years ago. So whenever I am frustrated with my life, I am always grateful that I didn't live in all these other time periods where things were worse. So, uh, serotonin is the pleasure of social dominance. Now, no one can admit that they care about social dominance, that they actually enjoy it. And yet, it's so easy to see in the animal world, and it's easy to see in other people. It's just that we don't want to see it, excuse me, in ourselves. We don't want to admit to it in ourselves. I'm going to have a drink, and while I'm doing that, Howard, would you please tell me how much time I have left?
It's 7:38. Probably 10-15 minutes would be right, Chris? Does that sound about right? About 10,
Okay.
15 minutes. Yeah.
Does that include Q&A?
Whatever. Well, we usually
Yes.
finish by 8, so there's not a lot after you're done. There's just a little bit of a
Okay.
close. So, um,
Okay, good.
okay.
So, no one consciously thinks I want social dominance and then I'll feel good. But this is such a huge part of everyday life. So let's think of some examples. And before I do that, I just want to mention that when you see these contests between animals, when they are going, excuse me, horn to horn or head to head, college professors today will tell you that it's just display, or animal lovers will tell you it's just display. But it's not just display. I could go on and on. I've written 2 books about just this one serotonin piece. Um, but you can prove it to yourself by going on YouTube and looking for video of any 2 males in any 2 mammalian species having conflict. They're having a conflict over mating opportunity. And you see how vigorously they bang into each other, like 2 giraffes who seem so nice, 2 kangaroos who seem so nice. But when you watch them smash into each other, even 2 goats, I mean, with the full body weight, they just ram each other over and over. You can't believe it. And biologists know that their skulls are thickened in exactly the place where they hit. And that has evolved because of these male mating contests. Animals, when they have various kind of weapons like this, they don't use these weapons to fight predators. Animals almost never fight predators. Usually they're to fight each other. And all of my books cover this mammalian competition for mates. And I was very surprised to learn, frankly, that animals compete for mates because we may think they're just, peace and love view of nature. But no, they put a huge amount of their energy, any energy left after they find food, they put into fighting for mating opportunity and protecting their young. And both are different varieties of what biologists call reproductive success, which means making the most surviving copies of your genes, which requires both getting a quality mate and having good nurturing skills so that the young survive. So there's both a quantity and a quality strategy, to put it simply. Serotonin is not aggression, but a calm sense that I will get the banana. So when you feel like you are in the one-up position, you have a small release of serotonin, and in the modern world, it's called relaxing. But you are relaxing because you know it's like, I don't have to fight over the banana because I am the dominant individual and I get to claim whatever bananas are available. I don't have to worry about competing for food because I'm in the position of dominance, is basically the way it works in the animal world. Now, if an animal thinks it's in, if an animal reaches for a banana when it's not in the dominant position, it gets bitten or attacked. And these attacks can lead to fatal injuries. And that's why animals have status hierarchies where they're like, whoa, I'm not going to reach out for that banana until this bigger individual eats first. And when animals have a kill, they let the stronger, bigger individuals eat first, unless the kill is so big that there's plenty for everyone in the amount of time where the carcass would just rot. And then they all just feed quickly all at once. So this works differently in each species of mammal depending on that particular availability of food. And a lot has been written about this. I have a reading list on my website, for example, not my books, but the books I learned from. It's called intermammalinstitute.org/reading list. Think about what you do to trigger serotonin in your life. It keeps you focused on social importance. So let me give you a painless, harmless example of this. Let's say that you and I are playing poker and I need a certain card to win, and then I draw the card. So I'm very happy because I think I'm going to win. So this is just a basic fact of life that when you think you're going to win, you feel happy. And that's the serotonin feeling. So as much as it seems socially unacceptable to admit that you feel good about winning, everybody feels good about winning. So as much as you deny it or whatever. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you should cheat to win in order to get the serotonin feeling, nor am I saying that you should insult other people in order to put yourself in a position of strength and always think other people are in a position of weakness. And yet, this is very obvious going on in daily life. And my favorite example is that where I live, people would always criticize anyone who owns a big car. And they would think, oh, all these people with big cars are terrible. I hate them. They're evil. And so that's a way to put yourself in the one-up position. I don't have a big car, therefore I'm a good person. So every brain has its own way of putting itself in the one-up position, and that gives you a little moment of serotonin. The bottom line is that you only get a little bit of it and it's gone in a few minutes. So that's why people are always trying to put themselves in the one-up position again and again. And the bottom line is because our brain habituates to what you already have. So, for example, you think, I'll be happy forever if only I get this degree or this job. And then after a short time, it doesn't make you happy forever. Then you want the next degree or the next job or the next whatever thing that gives you the feeling of being in the position of strength. So, our happy chemicals are wired by past experience. To rewire, you need to feed your brain new experiences repeatedly. So, this is difficult and frustrating. It's hard to change. It's much harder to change than we think. Our brain is very much like clay when we're young and not at all like clay later on in life. And that's why each of us looks for dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin in the ways that worked in our adolescence, which was the last peak of neuroplasticity. And after that, we find ourselves repeating behaviors that we don't even agree with, and we don't even know why we did it, and we find it very hard to change. And again, I think it's important for people to know this. We repeat behaviors that stimulated in the past. To build new pathways, we need to design a new choice and repeat it a lot more than we think. Why do we keep using the old pathways in our brain? Because the electricity in your brain flows into the biggest pathways you have. Without conscious thought, it just flows like water. And so you have to carve a new pathway with a lot of repetition in order to flow. Finally, mirror neurons activate when we see others experience happy or unhappy chemicals. And this is sort of the idea of putting yourself in a position where the people around you are modeling behaviors you want and not hanging around people with behaviors you don't want. And excuse me, this is not so easy to do because often you want to be around, let's say, if you're around very negative people who are always complaining, maybe then you feel superior. So maybe you like to be with those people. You think you're doing a good deed by doing that, or uh, you feel stronger. But in a way, your mirror neurons are taking in their negativity. So choose your companions carefully. Don't reward bad behavior because everyone will notice. So, for example, if I'm a teacher and I have a student who behaves badly and I let them get away with it because I think I'm being nice, but then every other student in the class sees that I have rewarded bad behavior, they say, "Oh, so that's the way to get rewards by acting in a way that disrupts or whatever, depending on how old these people are. Could be at the dinner table, could be in the office, wherever. Bad behavior is often rewarded, and then everyone else notices and says, "Oh, so that's what gets rewarded." So, your power over your brain's responses to the world is bigger than you think, but it still takes a lot of repetition. But you can create new ways to feel good. And I have a lot on this in my website. I have books, podcasts, videos, infographics, and my website, innermammalinstitute.org. If you go there, you can sign up for my free 5-day Happy Chemical Jumpstart, where you get one email a day for 5 days explaining each of the 5 chemicals. And you just put your email in the form at the bottom of the page. And I have slideshows, including this one, if you want to go to innermammalinstitute.org/slideshows. And I have a new status anxiety workshop that I'm starting in October, innermammalinstitute.org/workshop, where we talk about this natural urge for social comparison and how we can rewire it. And I'm happy to hear your questions. If you want to contact me, here's my here's my email. So now I am happy to hear your questions.
I thought it was very well done.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Any questions? All right, well, I have a few to help out. So, one of my questions is, do you have any brain activity games that can strengthen those areas?
Oh, thank you. No, I don't have any games, but it's a good suggestion because games involve repetition and rewards. So that is a good solution. Um, you probably know the concept of gamification, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so that is a good solution. My personal work is not using this. I'll tell you why. A lot of people in their careers, they need to teach one specific behavior. But my work is not to teach any one specific behavior, but to help people identify the circuits that they already have and to design the new circuit that they would like. And for me, that's individual for everyone. But
Yeah.
a lot of people come to me to design apps and things like that, for a specific behavior. I've heard from people about all different kinds of behaviors that they want to undo. You know what? The closest I have, though, in sort of making it fun and friendly, I have a PDF that you can read on your phone. It's called Why You Can't Stop. So it helps anyone understand why they can't stop whatever is that thing they do. And it shows you that everyone in the world has this thing they do when they feel bad, and how you can rewire a new circuit to do some other thing. And it could be any, it could be, as you know, any behavior, any substance. And so to get Why You Can't Stop, you go to innermammalinstitute.org/PDFs, and you'll see Why You Can't Stop.
All right, all right. Outside of myself, anybody have any other questions, comments? All
I
right.
don't have a comment about the program, but it's just brought to my attention. I made a mistake on the date. It's on, the picnic is Saturday, September the 27th, not the 28th.
Understood, understood.
Good.
All righty, so let me bring this back up. Cover slide. All right, so I want to lead us in our four-way test. Can everybody see?
Yes.
All right, so join me in stating our four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it
Is it the
The
truth?
truth.
Second, is it
Is
fair?
it fair to
Fair
all
to
concerned?
concerned.
Third, will
Will it
it
build
Build
goodwill and better
and better
friendship?
friendships.
Fourth, will it be
Will it
Be
be beneficial
beneficial?
to all
beneficial to all
concerned?
concerned.
And five, will
Will
it
it be
be fun?
fun?
Be fun.
Hey, I appreciate everyone coming through. And if you have any further questions, you can hit us up on our Facebook pages.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for
Thank
being here.
you.